Good evening. I'm Sean Roman, pinch hitting for Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I'm Anthony Strait.
And this is On the Sports Lines for October 13th, 2016. The middle of October means league championships are about to get underway in Major League Baseball. The NFL is heading to Week 6, and the National Hockey League is about to drop the puck on a new season. Tonight, we've got previews for the Giants and Jets, a breakdown of the ALCS and NLCS, plus a look at the Rangers, Islanders, and Devils. As always, we want to hear from you, so please email us at fanspeak@onthesportslines.com. Send your tweets to @onthesportslines and your posts to facebook.com/onthesportslines. The 2-3 Giants, after going 2-0, they're now coming off a 23-16 loss to the Packers in Green Bay. And they are back home to take on the 3-2 Ravens, who are coming off a 16-10 home loss to the Redskins. The guys will tell you who and what you should watch for. Anthony, do you think there was a positive that the Giants could take away from their previous game that they could bring into the next week?
If there's any positive that you can take from a 23-16 defeat and being 2-3, it's the fact that their defense bend but didn't break. If you look at that game, it should have been a blowout all the way. I mean, Green Bay was moving up and down the field. They racked up over 400 yards of total offense. But the thing was, the Giants' defense, when it came to, was able to hold the Packers to 2 field goals in the second half after falling behind 17-6 at the half. One of the key stops was holding to a field goal after Eli Manning fumbled towards the end of the first half. Janoris Jenkins played very well. Got the 2 interceptions, and especially in a bang-up secondary, kind of took away the big plays downfield that the Packers saw accustomed to getting. And JPP, Pierre-Paul, and Olivier Vernon, they continue to do a good job of stopping the run. They're not racking up the sacks, which is why they're being paid in the first place. But they're stopping the run. The secondary is held up very well against, the Jordy Nelson, all these Packers weapons. And the thing was, the Packers offense was on the field for almost 40 minutes. And the fact that game didn't get out of control, I mean, that's a positive the Giants can take into the next game.
All right, Steve, I got an easier question for you. You probably saw a lot of negatives with the Giants. Pick out one that they should be avoiding in their next game.
Well, Anthony sort of touched on it when he mentioned the pass rush. This is a problem for the Giants. When you've spent millions of dollars, as they have in the offseason, to get pass rushing, Olivier Vernon and JPP combined for the entire season so far have 2 sacks. And that can't happen, and especially against a team like the Packers with Aaron Rodgers, who is a master at moving out of the pocket and creating plays with his legs as well as his arm. And you really have to get much better in that area. And I think even if you were to send Javoris Jenkins in on a blitz or send somebody on the defensive end, create a pass rush some way, play zone, do whatever you have to do, but you can't allow Aaron Rodgers to do what he did. He threw for close to 400 yards, and they pretty much obliterated the Giants' defense.
Jay, let's wrap it up with the Giants. Who is the Ravens player the Giants should be most focused on?
Well, I know it's the Captain Obvious answer, but I mean, Giants have shown a propensity for allowing quarterbacks to light them up. They're allowing over 260 yards through the air. So I got to go with Joe Flacco, who's averaging 256 yards a game passing. Ravens are still trying to figure out how to generate a running game. Justin Forsett was let go. And granted, while Terrence West put up 95 yards on 11 carries against the Redskins, he's still unproven. So the focal point of the offense is going to be Flacco, as evidenced by his league-leading 43 pass attempts a game. Now, as you guys mentioned, the Giants did keep Aaron Rodgers in check for stretches in that loss. He threw 2 TDs, but he did throw 2 picks, completed barely 50% of his passes. So overall, not a typical Aaron Rodgers outing. the Giants, it allowed the Giants to at least stay in the game and have a chance. Now, if they can, Giants secondary can follow a similar game plan, and if the front seven can generate any kind of pass rush, they'll have a chance. If not, Flacco's going to light them up.
All right. Did you know in Spanish, flaco meant
Yes,
thin?
I know what it means. Moving on, Sean.
The 1-4 Jets, coming off a 31-13, a palindrome, road loss to the Steelers, head out to the desert to take on the 2-3 Arizona Cardinals on Monday night. The guys are going to tell you who and what you should be looking for. Steve, tell me a positive takeaway that you saw from the Jets that they should bring to next week's game.
The one thing that I saw was positive was Ryan Fitzpatrick did not throw an interception.
He's got you there.
And that was good because this season he's already thrown 9 of them. The whole season last year he threw 15 of them. And unfortunately for him, he won't have Eric Decker for the rest of the season. That's a huge loss for him, which means they're going to double Brandon Marshall, and guys like Enunwa and Anderson are going to have to step up and really play well. And Matt Forte is probably going to get the ball even more now. They'll probably pass to him also a lot more. But if we can get Ryan Fitzpatrick to just limit his interceptions to maybe 1 a game, that would help them a great deal.
Anthony, you probably saw a lot of negative takeaways from the Jets. The last game in all season, what's one that they really have to change going to play the Cardinals?
You know what, the last time I was here, I felt like a big bully because I was picking on the Jets secondary. But in this case, it's the entire defense. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger threw for 300 yards passing, 380 to be exact. He was only hit 4 times out of 48 dropbacks.
He had all day.
He had all day to throw.
The secondary is a complete mess. Even with Revis, without him, they're even worse.
Yes.
And this is surprising because Todd Bowles is a defensive-minded coach, and he looks clueless on the sideline, trying to figure out what's going on. By the way, Muhammad Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson, they can go toe-for-toe with Vernon and JPP. 2 sacks total. So it's like no pass rush. The secondary is a mess. You can't blitz anyone because your secondary is in shambles. I mean, hey, look, Sammy Coates could have went for a career day.
If only he could actually hang on to the football.
Yeah, hang on to the football. He did it once, but he showed he just couldn't do it a second time.
All right, you mentioned defensive-minded team. I got to throw some credit out to Rex Ryan getting his team 3 wins. But okay, Jay, wrap it up with the Jets. Who's the player that they should be focusing on come Sunday?
You got to go with David Johnson. I mean, I talked about this guy on the kickoff show, and he's proving me right. He's averaging 139 yards a game from scrimmage as a true 3-down back this season. 98 yards receiving in the win over Tampa Bay, 157 on the ground in the win over San Francisco, which earned him NFC Offensive Player of the Week. He's becoming the engine that makes the Cardinals offense go. Now, the Jets' run defense has been one of the few bright spots of a rough season. They're only allowing 68 yards a game, partially because they're solid, but mostly because teams know they can beat up on the Jets through the air, as evidenced by the 300-plus yards they're allowing per game. Carson Palmer will be a game-time decision at quarterback due to concussion protocol, so it is likely that the Cardinals will rely even more on Johnson in the ground game. If the Jets can keep him under his average of 91 yards per game on the ground, it'll go a long way towards giving them a chance to get a win out in the desert. If he runs wild like he did against the 49ers, the Jets are going to be in a world of trouble.
All right, so it wasn't that much of a surprise that the Blue Jays and the Cleveland Indians advanced to the American League Championship Series. But it was a bit of a surprise that they swept the Rangers and Red Sox in the divisional round. So our guys are going to break down the ALCS for us. Steve, the Indians, Cleveland Indians, will win the pennant
if the role players on the team hit. We all know who they have as far as their really talented offensive players, led by Mike Napoli, who's had a phenomenal season with 34 home runs and over 100 runs batted in. But they need to have production from guys like Lonnie Chisenhall, who actually helped beat the Red Sox. He homered off David Price. You also need Jose Ramirez, who might be the most underrated player in baseball at third base. He has been excellent under pressure. And Coco Crisp, that's a name from the past we may remember from the A's. And from the Red Sox days when he helped them win a championship, he also has to come through. But the way their lineup is hitting in general, they've got a shot at doing this.
All right, Anthony, get to it. What is it going to take for the Blue Jays to win the pennant?
Other than Drake showing up, it'll be the I had to throw it out there. It'll be the Toronto Blue Jays starting rotation, continuing to play very well against solid Islanders. You look at Marcus Stroman in that wild card game, 6 solid innings, allowed 2 runs. Look at Marco Estrada, who was the game 1 starter, by the the way.
Yes.
8 in a third innings pitch in that 10-1 rout in Texas in Game 1. Then you look at, they have J.A. Happ, who won 20 games. They also can go actually either way with Aaron Sanchez.
Now, Sanchez has been great.
It's the fact that they're getting good 5 to 6 innings of solid pitching performance.
Yes.
They had their best ERA in the American League now.
Yes, they did.
3.64. And the fact that now that they have the offense going to go with this pitching makes the Blue Jays a very dangerous team in the best of 7 series.
Yes, it
All right,
does.
Jay, I got an X Factor type question for you. What is the ALCS going to hinge on, in your opinion?
You know, you guys can talk about the Indian starters and the Blue Jays offense, but the ALCS is going to come down to which bullpen, and these are two of the league's best, can close out games at the end. Indians bullpen backstopped by closer Cody Allen. He's locked down 9th innings, 32 of 35 in saves. But the key strategic weapon for manager Terry Francona is Andrew Miller, setup man who was acquired from the Yankees in August. Miller, 10 wins, 12 saves. This dude's piling up strikeouts at almost 15 per 9 innings. He has versatility that allows Francona to insert him anywhere into the game, practically anytime, anywhere, to put out fires. Game 1 of the sweep against Boston, pitched in relief in the 5th inning for the first time. It's in 3 years. First time since 2011, he's pitched in relief in 3 different innings. Game 3 through scoreless, 2 more scoreless innings, struck 3. That's going to continue. They're going to use him wherever they can. The Blue Jays pen, a little more ordinary, 12th in the league.
Yeah.
In the season, they've been lights out in the playoffs, 1.29 ERA. Roberto Osuna's been solid as their closer. These guys threw 4 1/3 scoreless innings in Game 3 in the clincher against the Rangers in 14 innings this postseason. Bullpens allowed just 2 runs, including 5 scoreless innings against the wild card win against the Orioles. Interesting to see how they do. They've got 2 of their mainstays, Francisco Liriano and Joaquin Benoit, potentially unavailable due to injuries. Jay's pen is shorthanded. It's going to put a lot more pressure on their offense. Just an interesting side note, guys. This is the first time since Major League Baseball went to the league championship format in '69 that the same 2 cities played in both the NBA semifinals and the baseball semifinals in the same year. Cleveland versus Toronto again.
That's right.
But bullpens are going to determine who advances out of this series, Sean.
Interesting.
Imagine one day we see Cleveland against Cincinnati. That'd be interesting.
Maybe one day.
All right, the Cubs took the next step toward breaking their 108-year-old World Series curse, advancing to the National League Championship Series by knocking off the Giants in a very entertaining and competitive divisional round. They're going to face either the Nationals or Dodgers, who are playing a deciding Game 5 as we come to you tonight. So our guys are going to break down the NLCS possibilities. Steve, what will it take for the Cubs to win that pennant?
Well, I think we saw it against the Giants, and it was clearly the bullpen. The Cubs' bullpen has been terrific this season so far. Aroldis Chapman, he had 1 game where he gave up 3 runs in a couple of innings, I know, but overall he's been terrific.
Yep.
Hector Rondon, who used to be their closer, is the 8th inning guy. He's been very good. Travis Wood, who you may have to possibly bring in the 5th, 6th inning, has also been really good. And we saw it happen to the Giants. What a disaster that bullpen was. If they had left Matt Moore in, or at least started in the 9th inning, they had a shot. They brought in 5 of their relievers, and none of them got the job done. The Cubs have a great bullpen. I think that's the key factor.
The Giants they were up 5-2, had everything on a
5-2.
silver platter. They were at home, and the crowd was really into it.
yeah.
Say, even year magic, and
Exactly.
the bottom just fell out. It was so shocking.
The closer couldn't get the job done.
All right.
None of the setup guys either.
Anthony, what is it going to take for the Cubs to get beaten by the Nationals or the Dodgers?
Well, you gotta look at it from the Dodgers standpoint. They cannot hit with runners in scoring position. Did anybody
That's right.
watch
That's
games
right.
2 and 3? 1 for 9 in game 2 with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
0 for 5 with the bases loaded. And in game 3, receiver was combined, they were 2 for 23 with runners in scoring position the first 3 games of the series. It took a Chase Utley go-ahead hit to break that string. And the thing is, this lefty lineup is so left-handed hitter, dominant lineup that they're even worse with left-handed pitching. So they're gonna have to figure that out. And in terms of the Nationals, can anybody outside of Matt Soja pitch past 4 innings? Tanner Warwick, Gio Gonzalez, Joe Ross, they all got shelled early. And Joe Ross only lasted 2 2/3 innings.
he was awful.
Tanner Warwick was bad. Even Soja's game 1 start, he got shell for 4 runs.
Yeah.
Dusty Baker's relying too much on that bullpen, and he got to get a quality start out of his starters.
From somebody other than Scherzer.
Because the
Yeah,
bullpens,
other
we
than
saw what happened with
Scherzer.
the Giants bullpen when you overuse them,
Yeah.
and it's going to catch up to the Nationals at some point as well.
That's where Strasburg's
It
loss
would have
is
been a
huge.
lot of fun if the Mets would have got past the Giants and to see them play the
Yeah,
Cubs
Cubs
again, who
again.
they
If he
handled
hadn't
last
been
year.
injured this year, I
You
think
know,
it could have
because
happened.
the Cubs, they always have a hex on them, and they had
Yeah.
trouble with the Mets, and could they have got over that hump? We'll
knows?
never
Who
know.
knows?
Jay, what is the outcome of the NLCS going to hinge on in your view?
It's going to hinge. It doesn't matter whether they play the Dodgers or the National. The Cubs defense, the least talked about strength of the
Yeah.
NL's top seed,
Their
and
defense.
the stingiest unit in Major League Baseball in the last 25 years is going to determine the outcome of the NLCS.
Yes.
Hear me out on this.
All right.
Cubs allowed the fewest balls put in play in any full season since the live ball era began in 1920. Hitters only had a 257 batting average on balls put in play. That is the lowest by a team since the 1976 Yankees. Chicago converted almost 73% of all balls put into play into outs. That's the best defensive efficiency by a club since the 91 White Sox. Now, how do you beat a team that doesn't beat itself? The Dodgers or the Nationals are going to need to have one of their big hitters come up big, such as the way Daniel Murphy did last year for the Mets.
Exactly.
You know, and helping them knock out the Cubs, specifically by going yard 4 times in that series, because as you guys know, no defense against the home run.
No.
The other way is to utilize speed. Because stolen base is an Achilles heel for the Cubs starters. The Cubs are allowing almost 78% success rate. Trey Turner of the Nationals could be a problem for them.
Oh, yes.
33 of 39 in only 73 games. Now, the Cubs' top 3 starters, Arrieta, Hendricks, and Lester, had career bests in batting average in balls put in play. None of them was above 262. The Dodgers and the Nationals had better take advantage of their chance to get on base because Chicago's defense will not allow too many.
And by the way, you mentioned stolen bases. What's going to happen when John Lester takes him out since he's notorious?
yeah.
He's the worst
He
of the
cannot
three of
keep
us. You
guys
can't hold
on
the guy
base
out.
He
whatsoever.
can't hold runners on the
All
wall.
right, let's go on to talking a little bit of hockey. The 2016-2017 NHL season got underway last night. But for the Rangers, Islanders, and Devils, it begins tonight, with the Rangers playing the Islanders at Madison Square Garden and the Devils in Florida taking on the Panthers. We're going to take a look at each team. Jay, let's take a look at the Rangers first. What's the strength of this team coming into the season?
All right, well, you know, obviously, it goes without saying that the strength of the Rangers is Henrik Lundqvist, still among the elite netminders in the NHL, and the Blue Shirts will go as far as he can carry him. That said, I'm going to focus on a strength that's right now just a strength on paper, but what I and every Ranger fan hopes will become a strength on the ice, and that's the depth of skilled forwards that the team has put together, combining returning veterans and some new faces with the potential to make things tough on opponents. 2 returning veterans I'm going to be watching, Rick Nash, Matt Zuccarello. Nash looking to rebound from a bad injury-riddled season where he only had 15
much
goals
so.
in 2014-2015, where he lit the lamp 42 times, while maintaining his solid play in all 3 zones. Zuccarello is coming off a season where he led the Rangers in scoring, 61 points on 26 goals and 35 assists. Can he do that again? They're going to need him to. They're going to both be on the Rangers' number 1 line, centered by Derek Stepan. 2 newcomers I'm going to be watching, Jimmy Vesey, the Hobie Baker winner for Best College Hockey Player coming out of Harvard, and Micah Zibanejad, who was acquired in an offseason trade that sent Derek
yes.
Brassard to Ottawa. Vesey had 55 goals in his last 2 years at Harvard, so he has the potential to be a sniper, get them 20 goals. He's also shown the kind of toughness he's going to need to survive in the NHL. Micah's already had 2 20-goal seasons. Brings speed, physicality, a high-powered right-handed shot that the team needs, especially, and he's the type of guy who can one-time the puck from the left point on the power play, which has been a huge Achilles heel for the Rangers. It's an intriguing group. They're going to need to actually be a strength on the ice for the Rangers to win.
It's true. Like from a lot of the northeastern old schools, like Harvard and Cornell,
Boston
they
College.
have Boston. They have tremendous hockey
Boston U.
programs.
Yep.
Very strong but faithful following
Yep.
of alumni. All right, so Anthony, let's move on to your niece's favorite team, as well as mine, the New York Islanders. What do you think is their strength going into 2016-17?
Well, the strength of the team is my niece's favorite player. They happy to be number 91, John Tavares. As he goes, so does the Islanders. Now, last year, he got off to a very slow start, had a couple of ailments, injuries, sickness. got out to a slow start. He had like 13 points in the first 25 games of the season. Did rebound to the All-Star break to score 33 goals, 37 assists, 70 points. They need him to get back to the 2014-15 version where he was a Hart Trophy finalist and racked up 86 points. Here's the thing. Kyle Poso is gone. So is Fran Neeson. Those are two really big losses. Andrew Land and Jason Chamorro, who they got, kind of iffy, so it's going to take a while to figure out what's the top line.
Yeah.
But with Tavares, it's his flair for the dramatic. We saw he single-handedly carried them to the next round, second round of playoffs with the game tie and the game-winning goal. We saw him play very well in the World Cup of Hockey, out of position, by the way. So basically, he is the engine that drives the Islanders also, and he knows this because he's an Islander fan. His contract is coming up next season. Next season contract year. So if the Islanders are going to get anything done in the second year tour in Brooklyn, it has to be this year. If he can get back to the 2014-15 form, the Islanders can really turn some heads in that Metropolitan Division.
I will take John Tavares with that game-winning goal against Florida, though, anytime. I would take a playoff win like that over a very strong season. All right, Steve, let's finish up with the Devils. What's the strength of this team? I know you're so into it.
Oh, the Devils, yes. Well, the team that neither the Rangers or the Islanders like at all.
Nope.
But the one player on the Devils that makes a huge difference for them is their goaltender. Much like the Rangers, Corey Schneider is a phenomenal goaltender. He had a 2.15 goals against last year, 924 in saves. And he signed a 7-year, $42 million contract, so they don't have to worry about him going anywhere for a while. And he has really effectively replaced Martin Brodeur.
Yes, he has.
He has become a terrific goaltender, and frankly, the team didn't make the playoffs and hasn't for the last 4 years.
No.
They finished 32, 36, and 4, but you certainly can't blame that on Corey Schneider.
No, the thing is the Devils just have not been able to get any offensive firepower in front of him. He's playing.
Jay, are the Rangers going to do better than they did last year?
There's a lot of unknowns.
Or is it downhill?
There are a lot of unknowns because the defense is worse than it was last year.
Anthony, did the Islanders improve on how they did last year with their first playoff win in 23 seasons?
It's going to be tough because they're very good defensively. They got great depth at goaltender with Halak coming back. But here's the thing is scoring and figuring out how they're going to play that up-tempo style. We just lost two key guys to free agency.
All right, thank you, Anthony. That sound right there means it's time for our 3-minute warning. Please lead off.
Thank you, Sean. While Met fans like myself were looking at wounds over losing the wildcard game, many Yankee fans gloated. It's fair enough. Nothing like cross-city rivalry banter. However, the same fans did the same day when the Red Sox and Rangers were swept. Sports, however, are fickle, and it's more of what have you done for me lately. Do I have to remind Yankee fans that they finished fourth and missed the playoffs? The reality is, for all the chatter about 27 World Championships, the Yankees have only played one playoff game in 4 years. Relying on Asian veterans and big spending finally reduced the great Yankee empire into also-rans. No, it can't be fun knowing the next playoff game will air on Yankees Classic. But the Yankees, thanks to finally biting the bullet and realizing getting younger is the best way, have turned the page to write a new chapter in its history. A brilliant trade deadline unloaded a few bloated contracts, netted back prospects, and gave guys like Judge, Austin, and Sanchez a chance to gain bigger experience. The front office has an eye on the future and is looking forward. It's about time the complacent fan base do the same.
Fun in the NFL, it's a thing of the past. What's the world coming to? Bad enough the NFL has intentional grounding, blocking in the back, blocking out of bounds, taunting, and the ever-present ubiquitous calls for holding on the offense. Now the latest rule is just simply nefarious. Calling a penalty and fining NFL players for what? Celebrating a score? Okay, there's no fun bunch celebration, no Billy White Shoes Johnson, no jet sack exchange, I get it. But don't tell me this sets a good example. Give me a freaking break. It's about having fun. Now, Commissioner Goodell, what the hell will you think of next?
As everyone knows, I'm a born and raised Yankee fan. That means I consider the edifice at 161st and River to be the mecca of baseball, the World Series to be my team's birthright, and the Boston Red Sox to be the very definition of the word arch enemy. So while it means I hate the denizens of Fenway Park as a whole, I also have respect for some of those that have worn their uniform. David Ortiz is one of those who've been the object of both my hate and my respect. Ortiz is calling it a career as one of the best and most beloved players in Red Sox history. As a Yankee fan, I'm happy we won't have to face him 19 times next season. But as a baseball fan, I'll be sorry to see a player who has been good not only for the city of Boston, but for baseball as a whole not suit up next season. Big Papi retires as probably the greatest DH and arguably one of the most clutch players in baseball history, especially postseason history. In 2004, he helped the Red Sox end their 86-year World Series drought. His walk-off home run in Game 4 of the ALCS started the Red Sox historic comeback against the Yankees. He then went on to lead them to 2 more titles in 2007 and 2013. His postseason record includes a 2004 ALCS MVP and a 2013 World Series MVP. He also finished his career with over 500 home runs and nearly 2,500 hits in parts of 20 big league seasons. Now, I don't know if the voters will deem him Hall of Fame worthy, but take it from a Red Sox-hating Yankee fan. Any player with his resume and love of and for the game deserves to reside in Cooperstown. Adios, Big Papi, and muchas gracias.
Baseball has the longest season in any sport.
Yep.
162 long games to establish a true body of work. This shows why it's a tragedy to have that one-game wild card.
Yes, sir.
The media and the fans of the teams in contention obsess for a good 2 months on who is in and who is out. Because the wild card, after all, is a playoff spot.
Yep.
At the very least, baseball needs a 2 out of 3 series to determine the wild card winner.
Preach it, Sean.
Yes.
Yes, it was recently very exciting to see ace against ace. Mets-Giants, Bumgarner versus Syndergaard. But didn't Bartolo Colon deserve a shot to save the Mets in the postseason as he did their regular season?
Amen.
And think about the Pirates, who worked so hard and waited so long to get back to the playoffs. They did so twice in recent years, but it was only for a single game each time for that passionate fan base. For all that effort to come down to a single 9-inning fair is an injustice to the game.
Tell it, Sean.
Amen.
For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Anthony Strait, I am Sean Roman, and thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. We hope to see you again on October 27th for another edition of On the Sports Lines. And remember, if you'd like to see this show again or catch up on any of those you may have missed, please check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines. And where should they look for our blog?
OnTheSportslines.blogspot.com.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
everyone.